Hello everyone, today we're going to dive into an exciting tutorial about creating games with ChatGPT. And guess what? You won't need to write a single line of code. In about 40 minutes, I managed to whip up a solo version of a memory game with a few tricks, as you will see in a minute. This walkthrough will guide you through the ups and downs, bugs and fixes of creating this game. By the end of this short session, you will be well equipped to build your very own game prototypes with ChatGPT. Sounds good? Let's get started. Starting with the game code, I found the quickest way to results was to use p5.js, a user-friendly JavaScript library designed to simplify the creation of web-based interactive experiences. Before we move forward, let's talk a little bit about game design. It is wise to map up your game in a document before heading over to the chat. That means listing out the different components of your game and their interconnections. Here's an example, the instructions I devised for my memory game word to word. I would like to create a memory game in p5.js code. It's a single player game with a timer and score. Now I will describe the game section by section. Cards. There are 12 pairs of cards in the game, a total of 24 cards. There are 12 unique animals named on the cards. Please come up with these 12 random animal names. For the back of the card, I would like to use my own texture, 100 by 100 pixels. Make sure to have a space of 30 pixels margin for each card. The layout. Cards are arranged in a grid of 6 by 4. Leave space for the HUD, where we will see the timer and score. Player turn. Each turn, the player flips a card and reveals the animal's name, which should be written with text on the card. The player will then click on another card. If they match, the score goes up by 1 and the cards are removed from the grid. If they do not match, both cards are flipped after 1 second and the player can continue flipping cards. Timer. The game ends after 30 seconds. In the HUD, the timer should increment by 1 every second. Game end. The game ends when the player matches all the cards or when the time runs out. A replay button will appear on the screen after the game ends, allowing the player to replay. So that's a complete design for a game. After documenting it, I handed it over to ChatGPT, which provided me with the game's code. This brings us to the next step, code deployment. OpenProcessing.org is your destination for this. It's a fantastic platform where creators share games and interactive experiences built with p5.js, the same code that ChatGPT is writing for us right now. To get started, create an account and open a new sketch. Save it, name it, and you will find it runs the pre-existing code. Now if you go over here to this symbol, you will switch from the game view to the code view. Go there and just erase the code, don't worry about it. And now let's return to ChatGPT. Sometimes it might run out of words before completing the code, so you will need to prompt it to continue, but in my case I found it worked just fine and I can copy the code as is. One thing to note here, ChatGPT will indicate that we need to replace the path in the code with the actual artwork, which in my case was the image for the car's backside. We will do this manually in the code, I'll show you in a second. So now we are ready to copy the code over to our sketch. Upload your artwork in the Files section here. My image is called cardback.png. Now this file shares the same library with my code. At the top of the code, we need to change the path to the image. So I'm changing this to the image file name, and just to be sure, I'll check that it's case sensitive, although it probably doesn't matter. Click the play button to run the code and voila, we are up and running. However, we may need to tweak a few apparent issues. Great! Please restructure the game's layout so the timer and the score will be on top of the cards, not on them. It's called HUD in gaming jargon. So now ChatGPT gave me a new code, the full code to the whole project. I copy, pasted the new code, modified again the image path, and here are the results, and the issue is fixed. So another minor thing, I want the timer to be on the left hand side of the screen in the HUD and not beneath the score. What should I modify? After copying the snippet of code to the correct place and running it, I find that everything is in order like I imagined. Lastly, I decided to give my game an aesthetic boost by replacing the text on the cards with images. I would like to use my own textures for the front of the cards. A total of 12 images, one per unique animal word. When the player flips a card, the picture will show and not the text. Please tell me how to modify my code. ChatGPT supplied several snippets of code and explained the naming conventions for my images. After incorporating the snippets into the script, hopefully correctly, I prepared a series of animal images with Stable Diffusion, adjusted their sizes and renamed them using BeerMe. Upload your images, select the final size, and name your images according to ChatGPT's guidelines. So we have an image and then I stands for the number. So in here in BeerMe I call it X, so I have image parenthesis X, number starts from 0, and then I get a zip file with all of my images named correctly. So once this is done, upload the files to the project like we did with the cardback image, modify the path in the code to point to the animal images, run the code, and it doesn't work. This probably happened because I didn't copy the code as good as I should. So at that point, I just copied all my code together, my not functioning code, fed it to ChatGPT and told it to fix it for me. So this was my prompt. I have a bug. I'm pasting here the code. Please go over it. Can you write the whole code again with all of my modifications in the conversation? And the answer was a resounding yes. ChatGPT just gave me the full code. I pasted it as is, and voila. Here we have it, the game is up and running. So, in conclusion, crafting games with ChatGPT is an enlightening and humbling experience. It's all about clearly articulating your ideas and adhering to a sound design logic. An added bonus is that you will learn heaps about coding in the process, and in no time at all, or maybe 40 minutes, you will have a functioning game prototype. So go ahead and give it a try. I'm excited to see what you come up with. See you next time. Bye bye.